Welcome to the GTP. My name is Scott, where we talk all things manga. In this video, I'm excited to share with you my haul for the month of April of over 65 volumes. Yes, we did again with over 65 volumes, and that was not intentional, so I do apologize. So the goal of this video is I'm going to share with you why I bought each volume, as well as what did I actually read from this overall haul. In the comments below, I always love to know from you, what did you either read or pick up this month, as it's just a great dialogue in our community as we're just learning from one another. So let's go ahead and start with ongoing or missing titles that I received from Viz Media. And the first is a title that I had on back order over almost 2 years ago, and it finally was reprinted. It's the last volume I needed, and that is volume 4 of Twin Stars Exorcist. So I now am completely caught up to date. I think there's almost 30 volumes in the series. I've heard good things. I know it's one of the more deep cuts in the Shonen Jump lineup, so I wanted to get it before the Viz Media price increase, and this was the last one I was waiting for. So I now have it. I'm so glad Viz Media did reprint this. So that is why we picked up Twin Star Exorcist. Next up, I got a shoujo series that needs no introduction, as it's one of the best series for shoujo, and that is Skip Beat Volume 49. Wow, we're almost at 50 volumes for this beloved series. Now, I will say I'm a little bummed out, as it seems like each volume is getting skinnier and skinnier these days. I think the last one was pretty thin too, so who knows what's going to happen with volume 50, but it is just amazing that we have gone this far with this series. It's one that is on my short list that I want to read right away to be able to tell you more about this peak fiction. Next up is another series that I had on back order a very long time. I want to say at least 2.5 years, from Right Stuff Anime, and it was finally shipped. I'm so happy that Crunchyroll is shipping our back order stuff from Right Stuff Anime. At least they're still honoring that now. And that is QQ Sweeper Volume 1. I now have the whole series of QQ Sweeper and Queen's Quality. This is the last one I was waiting for to start this series. Wow. I'm just amazed to think it can be hard to have all the other volumes and you want to start this series, but you can't start because you're missing volume 1. So that's why I haven't been able to start it yet, but again, this is another one from the shoujo lineup. I'm very grateful that they chose to reprint this series, and they gave us volume 1 so that all of us can go ahead and enjoy this beloved series. Speaking of reprints, I got another one, and that is Kakeshi Volume 3. Now, I'm still missing about 5 more volumes of the whole series. I think I need like volume 1, I think one's like 11 or 17. Some of them are going for over $100 online. Now, is interesting is this one is very, very yellow if I compare it to, let's say, another volume right next to it, as you can see here. So it's interesting that for the reprint they brought one of the older ones. You can tell this is not just this is probably on their backlog they found in, I don't know, back of a warehouse maybe. It wasn't reprinted, but I was like, this is very yellow compared to this. But I'm very happy to get closer to being able to collect the series. It's one that I've wanted to read for a while, and so I heard if you like Demon Slayer, you'll like this one. So it's one that, again, it's on my back order to read, and hopefully those other volumes will be reprinted. I'm very grateful that Viz Media does seem to finally starting to catch up and reprint some of their backlog. And we have for you another reprint, and it was the last one I believe I needed, and now I have the whole series that I can finally read, and that is My Love Story, another shoujo series. I'm like, what is up with the shoujo series? Seem to always be on back or not being reprinted as soon as some of the shonen series. So it's a little frustrating, but I've just heard it's such a phenomenal story, and I've been waiting for this for a while. This is another series I think I've been waiting about a year through the back orders, and I'm so grateful it was reprinted through the Right Stuff. This got shipped out. Thank you, Crunchyroll, for honoring the Right Stuff orders that are older. I have one that's over 3 years old. Please honor that one, as well as I think the volume's finally being reprinted this July, which means it'll probably be August or September, since dates seem to always get pushed back further and further with Viz Media when it comes to the reprints. Next up I picked up is Marriage Toxin Volume 2. This picks up as you're following the story of this poison assassin who realizes that he needs to be able to pass on the family line, and to do that he needs to get married. And unfortunately he's not very good with the ladies, so he has this other person that's helping him being able to get to know girls better, be able to know what it's like to talk with them, and then hopefully he'll be able to find his match made in heaven. So it's more of a comedy style with the action, and there is some ridiculousness. For an example, there is the main character riding a shark in this. So if you like that type of shown action where just the absurdity of riding a shark, you are going to enjoy this. It does remind me, some of the artwork reminds me a little bit like Chainsaw Man or Dan to Dan, but I'm thoroughly enjoying it. Now, I actually like Volume 2 better than Volume 1. There are some laugh out loud moments, so it's a series that I'm going to continue reading. But again, just to forewarn you, you have to check your brain out as you are seeing, you know, just some ridiculous battle scenes. But it is fun on the journey as you're trying to see him save these women to maybe go on a date with them and to see, is this going to go anywhere? Next I picked up is Jujutsu Kaisen Volume 22, a series that I need to start back up as I read the first 9 volumes. Didn't understand why the series is good. Reread the 9 volumes, still struggled with it. Went and saw the movie Zero, watched some of the anime, and I'm like, man, why don't I get this? So I heard I need to pick it back up. I heard it's very good, so that's the reason why I've just continued on this series. It's one that I'm actually going to pause, continue purchasing, and it will have a video I'm going to be posting soon on what am I doing with collecting right now and some thoughts. So this is one I will be pausing until I can go ahead and get to where I need to with this series. Up next I picked is Undead Unluck Volume 15, another series I heard is one of the best currently ongoing series that I just have not read. I end up ordering everything on a good Right Stuff Anime birthday sale, which, as you know, was a long time ago, and I still haven't read. I've just continued to pick them up, so I need to get back and go ahead and read this one as well. Next, I picked it was Sakamoto Days Volume 11. I am thoroughly enjoying this arc currently right now as they're at the training assassin school, and it's just been so good. It's still funny, the action-packed sequences. It's one I've thoroughly enjoyed reading, as well as my son, who's 11, is enjoying it, and my daughter, who's 12. So little caution, I read it yourself as a parent, but it's one that I'm enjoying. I felt was okay enough for them to read, and maybe there's some language here and there, but other than that, it's wholesome, it's funny, and just the action sequences. I'm surprised we don't have an anime of this one yet, but this just has been a phenomenal series so far. Next I picked up is Love is War Volume 28, which is the final volume of this series. It's one I was just waiting for because I had everything collected already. I was like, let's just wait for the last couple volumes. It's now complete. This is on my short list to read right away because it's the same author that gave us Oshe no Ko, which is one of my most favorite ongoing series whatsoever. So I really want to read this title as well because how much I love Oshe no Ko. And then this is one I'd love to do a review for you soon, just to go ahead and talk about it. This is worth picking up yourself. Next I picked up is Moriarty the Patriot Volume 15. This is another series I have not started reading. I heard some good things about it because of Viz Media price increase. I wanted to go ahead and read it. So like Jujutsu Kaisen, this is one I'm going to put a pause on. You won't see more volumes in other hauls unless I start reading this series. Now, I might have pre-ordered some of the ones, maybe 16 was pre-ordered, I don't know, hopefully not, but I'm gonna we'll pause on this one as well. Once I start reading the series, I can get more of an idea if this is one that I want to keep reading and one I want to pick up and share more with you all. Now next, speaking of reprints, I actually got this from Manga, as is one of the few stores that had this as a back order, which I really appreciated. As well, Barnes & Noble had back orders, although I don't know if it's still available, but this is Vagabond Volume 37. Wow, this is the last one I needed, as the rest are the Viz Big. This was reprinted last year, but a small print where it was like gone in an instant, and then the volumes were going over $100 already online. So I was like, I'm just going to wait. I'm just amazed that I have this, as at one point this was extremely rare and people were fighting over this. So I'm very, very grateful that Viz Media reprinted this single volume, and this is just, it helps give closure to the last arc from this. I think there's 12 of the Viz Media, the big edition, so who knows if this will ever, I believe if the author is willing to give us real and he's continuing that story, my hope is someday he will wrap up and close Vagabond as well for all of us, but it's one I need to go ahead and I need to check out and start reading this year. Next I picked up was JoJo Bizarre Adventure Volume 3 of Stone Ocean. I've read part 1, part 2, and part 3, but I have not done 4, 5, and now 6. So I keep picking these up. Sometimes I wonder why, but I really do love JoJo Bizarre Adventure, and the first 3 were just so good, and it felt like each one progressed it on one another, and it's just been so fun and so good. So I need to go ahead and read this. Well, I need to read 4 and 5 and then go ahead and start this one. This is one I'll probably keep collecting anyways, as it's just, it's nice having your collection. I really appreciate the artwork, the hardcover here, and it's just the very glossy, just looks so nice on your shelf. Next I picked up is the Ultimate Limit Volume 5. This is the last one I needed to be reprinted, and this whole series was, or 5 and 10 were the last ones I needed, and they got reprinted a couple months ago. For some reason, I just did not have my copy yet. So I now have this. It's now complete. This is a detective series. I've just heard so many good things. I'm excited that I can now check out this series and hopefully tell you more about it in the future. Speaking of nice hardcovers, I also got Fist of the North Star Volume 12. Now, this series just had so much impact on so many stories that we now see in the shown universe. But I love the little blood splatters you have on the sides. The artwork is incredible for these hardcovers. So it's one, I think there's going to be 18 in total, but I haven't been reading it. So I think this is one that would probably be wise to also pause as well, and then start reading the series to get an idea of whether or not this is one that I should even be continuing. Next I picked up is Steel of the Celestial Shadows Volume 2. This is one of my favorite new series to come out this year, and it's just getting better and better. The storytelling, the artwork, this is one you've got to check out if you've not already, as you're following this samurai who has this weird ability that he can't touch metal and just feels like a failure. And then all of a sudden this hope comes in his life, and he falls in love with this girl, and then they're together, and then she's taken away from him. There's some supernatural elements along the way, and it's just been just the storytelling, the pacing, wow, I'm mesmerized. It's something where at the end of a volume, I just feel so good, and I'm ready to find out what's next. And it's a unique story where there's some elements I've seen already along the way that I wasn't expecting, and things that I have not seen necessarily yet in the story. So it's one, if you haven't checked out, I think the first volume alone will give you an idea if this is a series that's worth for you. It's been worth it for me. It's one I highly recommend checking out. It's one of the better new series that come out this year. Next I picked up was Midnight Children. This is also a lovely deluxe cover here, this little hardcover. Now, Midnight Children, I will give you a heads up. It's been okay. It's this vampire series. I did think it was funny in this one. And I mean, the vampire himself does look a little bit like Michael Jackson. So as you see here, our lovely person here, it looks like the ghost of Michael Jackson a little bit. Apparently, if you're like, what does Dracula look like? He looks like the ghost of Michael Jackson. Was Michael Jackson really Dracula? Now let that conspiracy theory. Maybe there's something that we just did not know, that there's a hint there saying that actually maybe Michael Jackson's still around as a ghost, or he's Dracula. But I don't know. So it's been interesting. I really like the artwork. This is from the same author that gave us Innocent and the Climber, so the artwork is good. I just wish the pacing was a little better. It has been neat. Van Helsing came along the scene for this one, so this volume I like better than the first one. I'll go ahead and I'll give it one more volume. It also bothers me is, you know, these are fairly thin if we compare these to. So let's compare a little bit. Let's have a little fun here. So this is MSRP of $27. This has an MSRP of $25. So JoJo Bizarre Adventures is cheaper and thicker. This is thinner and $2 more expensive. Look at the difference here. One of these things is not like the other one. One of these things does not feel like it should belong. So I'm a little bothered by that, paying this premium price and not getting as much in a volume, where this is more of a 1.5, this is maybe just a 1, and they're charging more for it. So I don't know if they had to pay a little bit higher of a publishing fee to be able to get the rights to this one. So that does bother me a bit, and I think this is something that could have been a far more affordable. It didn't have to be hardcover. It could have been a Viz signature of just $14.99 MSRP. And I think that would have been a lot better, as it doesn't sit well with me just for how much they're asking for what you're getting for this compared to something you get from like JoJo Bizarre Adventures. Next, I got one of my favorite Battle Royale series that's currently on, and that is Record of Ragnarok Volume 10. This is a series I've shared before that you just put your brain at the door. If you're looking for just a series where I just want to see the battling, I just want to see the fighting, maybe see a little bit behind the scenes of the fighting itself on why this is happening. This is a series for you, as you're seeing that the gods have decided to duel humanity for a one takes all to decide whether or not Earth is going to stay or be destroyed. So it's just a lot of fun. There's hilarity to it, and it's just non-stop action. It's when I don't want to read anything necessarily or have to think. This has been a great series I've just thoroughly enjoyed, even with all the cheesiness inside. And last from Viz Media I picked up is My Neighborhood Story Volume 2. Now, I do really appreciate just how thick these volumes are. We got our lovely French flaps here. This is from the same author that gave us Nana and Paradise Kiss, and this is actually the prequel to Paradise Kiss. I'm still amazed that this was reprinted, and even, well, not even reprinted, this was given to us in the first place, as there never was an English release. So I'm very grateful to have this in my hands, and it's one that I haven't started reading it, that I do need to read. I was just, with everything else with the backlog, I was like, I think there's only gonna be one or two more of these, so I was like, I'll just collect it and then we'll go ahead and read. Let's go ahead and now move on to ongoing or missing titles that I received from Ize Press. And the first is a series that actually redeemed itself for a bit, because after volume 5 I was ready to drop the series, but I already pre-ordered volume 6 and I was like, let's go and give it one more volume, and that is No Longer Heroine. So this series is a hot mess, as you're following this girl who likes this guy over here, but he does not like her, and then he ends up dating somebody else, and she just does not understand. And instead of being the heroine, she ends up becoming a bit of a villain, and there's some bitterness, and how she is acting is not good. And now she's decided that she doesn't like this guy anymore, and now this guy kind of likes her, and it's like, what's going on? What are they gonna do? And now she's with somebody else, and it's a hot mess. For some reason I do enjoy it. Now volume 5 just felt like it wasn't really going anywhere, but there was enough in this volume and pacing to want me to continue reading this shoujo series. So if you like a hot mess romance where you're like, what is going on? It's a bit of a train wreck. This is one that might be up your alley. Next up is Primal Gods in Ancient Times. Now I do want to forewarn you, this volume has parental advisory, warning, explicit content. I didn't see any in this one. This one was wrapped, and I was kind of baffled by that. The first volume was not wrapped, but the second volume I do understand it was wrapped. And it did have some things where I was like, yes, I understand why this had parental discretion advised and had that warning. So it's interesting that they did that with volume 2, and I don't know if it's something that Ize Press says, hey, we're just going to continue that on with the other ones. I didn't think there was anything major that this needed to have the parental discretion advisory. This could have just been for teen. It says mature for language and violence, but I didn't think it needed for this one. This has been an interesting ongoing series that I've enjoyed so far, and there's only 3 volumes out, as you're following this girl who she was supposed to be sacrificed for this god, and then she was saved, and now it's through more of the medieval times in Japan, and they're going to where you're seeing these shrines that are starting to slowly be forgotten. She's on this journey, and there's a little bit of time travel here and there going on, just some different elements. I've thoroughly enjoyed it so far, the storytelling and what's going on with her traveling group as they continue to move forward. It's been a unique and interesting story. It's one I'd recommend checking out if you've not yourself. Next up, from Ize Press on the Ize Press line, this is one of my favorite series that's currently ongoing, and that is the Remarried Princess Volume 6. This kind of wraps up the entire first arc. Again, I don't know why we don't have a live action show. This deserves to be a live action show. The drama, the costumes, the drama, it is just so phenomenal. This should be what the next Downton Abbey should be, but even better. As you're following this empress here, her husband has decided to get a mistress, and then now that mistress is pregnant, she's gonna have a child, and they're kind of pushing this empress out, and to the point that the emperor has decided I'm not even going to get a divorce. Well, she is not going to have it. This empress here, she has molded herself. She spent her entire life dedicated to being a good empress, to taking good care of the people, educating herself, learning things that she did not want to learn so that she can be the best empress possible, So she is not going to put up with this whatsoever, and it's just amazing to see how she does things along the way. Wow, it's so good. It's one of my favorite ongoing series. Next I pick up from Ize Press is The Beginning After the End. This is from Turtle Me, who's actually a local author in the Seattle area, which I love because I'm in the Seattle area. What's nice too is kind of like the Ize Press line, everything's in color. But this has been a very good series. It's an isekai where you follow a person who is a king and he's died and now he's in this new world and you're following him along the way. It's been a very unique story. It reminded me a little bit of Mushe Tenshin, except for without all the grossness at first, but it's just getting better. So I wish they had a little more thicker, a little more story in each one, but I'm thoroughly enjoying this, and it's one I just want to keep on continuing and following this character, just the fantasy elements, the magic, and just seeing him along the way and seeing him grow and progress has just been a ton of fun. Next from the Ize Press line, I got See You in My 19th Life. I really appreciate this one's a lot thick, a lot more story. The first one is really thick as well. This is a great drama series. Now, again, like the Ize Press line, everything is in color, which I do appreciate. This one, you're following this girl that she ends up falling in love with this boy, and it's her first time in a while where she's like, I'm actually going to put myself out there, and then she ends up being killed. And what happens is with this girl is that when every single time she dies, she reawakens again as another person when the person turns about 7 years old. So she's reawoken again, and enough in time where it's not that far along from this guy that she ended up liking then, and she's trying to now get back together with him, but doesn't want to creep him out or spoil it that, hey, I'm actually this other person that you fell in love with when you were a child that died, and now I've been reincarnated and I'm this person, and hey, maybe we should get together and you should keep your promise of us getting married someday. So yeah, it's been very good. I'm very interested along the way. I've been enjoying the dialogue and following. You're also seeing, I like seeing his hardships on what was that like as the trauma as a child of losing someone that you love, and those things just, they stay with you. Those scars can heal, but they're still scars. They stay with you along the way. So it's just been a very good, it's been a wholesome series. I've thoroughly enjoyed it so far. Next is another one of my favorite ongoing series from Ize Press, and that is Why Rylena Ended Up at the Duke's Mansion. This is another isekai setting where the girl ends up waking up into this one of her favorite books, and yet she knows how the story goes. So she's making now changes along the way, and now the story is deviating from its original path as she wakes up as a character that ends up dying very early on. So she has changed her fate where she's like, oh no, I'm not a side character that dies. I need to not be a red shirt. So she ends up switching that shirt out from red, and then she ends up making it where now she is going to live, and it just changes the path of the story, even though there's other things and plot elements and events that happen that she knows about. And it's just been a lot of fun. I love the sass in it. I love following Rylena along the way. This is another one there is an anime for, but I think this could do a very good live action as well. I've just thoroughly enjoyed the series. It almost made my top 20 of best ongoing, or not, series of all time. I don't know why, but Rylena has captured my heart, and she will not let go. And it's one of those series that you may read and be like, really, Scott? I don't understand why you think this is so good. I don't understand why either, but I absolutely love this series. Next up I picked up was Overgear Volume 3. This is isekai-ish, but it's a virtual reality world, so you still have the real world. You don't die into this magical world, but instead you have this, it reminds me of Ready Player One without the pop culture. So you're in this world, all these different things can happen, and you're following this main character who now has this unique ability, and he's a blacksmith. So I thoroughly enjoyed this volume here. As soon as I finished reading, I wanted to immediately pick up volume 4 and had to look up the release date, and I was so gripping. You just can't help but root for this hero who's just down in his luck, and he's now slowly grinding his way to be a champion himself as a blacksmith. My son, who's 11, this is one of his favorite series currently going. He's read them all multiple times. My daughter, who's 12, has also read this multiple times, but my son just loves this series. So it's one, again, it says it's rated teen for language and violence. I would read it yourself first as a parent, but if you enjoyed it and you think it's okay, I think it's one that having someone that's a preteen, I think they'll thoroughly enjoy it as well. And last from the Ize Press line is a series that after volume 5 I said, wow, this is incredible. And then Ize Press or Ize Press tweeted below on my Twitter saying, wait till you read volume 6. And they were absolutely right, because volume 6 of The Boxer was phenomenal. I actually literally had tears in my eyes reading just the first couple of pages, and it gripped me so much. You went, at one point, you're following the main character, rooting for the main character, and now you're rooting for the people that they're facing. For some of them, when you start learning their backstory, their backlog, the hardships they have went through to get to where they are now. This is just so good. I love The Boxer. It's one of the best, I want to say, ongoing sports series right now, and I might like this better than Blue Lock. I'm actually surprised I'm saying that right now on this video. Blue Lock, which is a phenomenal soccer series, but there's only 6 volumes in this, where Blue Lock were, I think, up to 12 I've read of that's in English right now. Wow, you've got to check The Boxer out. I don't know if you'll cry like I did, but this just gripped me so much. I felt so much for the main character's opponent they face, and all of a sudden I couldn't help it. I was rooting for his opponent instead of the main character, and it's just so good. So good, just the idea of wanting to chase your dreams, and then sometimes when you chase those dreams it still doesn't get to where you're at, and then other times that you chase those dreams and then you finally have that moment of clarity. This is such a beautiful story. Let's go ahead and now move on to ongoing or missing titles that I received from KODANSHA, with the first being Welcome to Demon School Volume 7. This story is hilarious. My son, who's 11, he enjoys it. My daughter, 12, she's enjoying this story as well, and it's just so funny as you're following this main character who's a human who ends up winding up into this demon school, and he's just trying to survive. And in this story here, our lovely Iruma here, who's normally is happy himself, all of a sudden he has a personality shift change for this volume, and you see what things would be like if he was acting more like a demon than just being a human. So very funny. I'm laugh out loud moments. It's a series I highly recommend and check out if you're looking for a good chuckle and just some high school antics, but you have that fantasy elements as you see a human trying to somehow survive in the school full of demons. Next, I picked up one of my favorite series of all time, and that is Blood on the Tracks Volume 16, and I believe there's one last volume left that's going to come out soon, and the series is complete, and the series has just gone full circle. The beginning of the series just gripped me so much and would not let go. The dialogue, you're following this boy who has a very manipulative mother who ends up just turning and pulling all the strings, and just caused so much just PTSD damage to her son, and you're just seeing the ongoing deterrings of how he's going to make it through. And you followed him as a kid, and now towards the end we're following him as an adult as he ends up having to face some of his demons and the things that affected him. What are the choices that he's going to make now based on how he was treated when he was young? So very good. I cannot recommend enough. Definitely not for kids, but this has been a phenomenal story. Next I picked up is Bakugan Volume 21. I would say, hey, we're not going to go ahead and pick up the series anymore, but I saw that we only have one volume left and the series is complete. Everyone has loved the light novel, so I said I'll go ahead and we'll pick it up. I got the whole thing on a Rights Up anime sale a while back. I think it was up to volume 16, and I just kept collecting. Even though I've not read it, it's definitely not for kids, and it's one that's usually probably not for me, as some of the artwork is a little too more on the itchy side than I actually appreciate or would ever want to read. So it's one of those things where I was like, I don't know why we collect this, but because there's only one volume in it, I do want to give it a read and give some more recommendations on it if I can go and I can stomach through it. Next, I picked up one of my favorite series of all time. It's in my top 10, and this is Blue Period Volume 14, as you're following Yuguchi here, who's this main character who ends up discovering the world of art. This is a phenomenal series if you're just wanting to chase your dreams, learning about art itself, it was a subject that I didn't know much about, and it wasn't of an interest to me, but all of a sudden, when a story makes you interested in something that you didn't have interest in, that says volumes in itself. And I just love as you're seeing the main character struggle and try to achieve their dreams, see their hard work, see it paid off. It's a beautiful experience. It encouraged me, made me want to be a better person about myself. It inspired me, and I believe if you've not read it, this story will inspire you as well. And last from KODANSHA I picked up is Blue Lock Volume 12. This is the soccer series. I love this series so much. I'm completely sucked in, and it's just so good. The panel after panel, you never know if they're going to make the shot or not. You never know what's going to happen, but I thoroughly enjoyed following the main character and just seeing the growth going from match to match to match to see where they're at now, where I don't want to spoil it, but it is a very good, it's one of my favorite ongoing sports series. Let's go ahead and now move on to ongoing or missing titles that I received from smaller publishers. The first being Tokyo Revengers Volume 1920. I'm still completely sucked into this series. It feels like we're nearing towards the end, even though I think there was 31 volumes in the series, so, or no, we're not nearing towards the end, but it's just the arc we're on now. This is just peak. I have a feeling I'm getting close to that point where people say if it ended on this, this would have been one of the best series of all time. I'm just completely hooked in as you're following this main character who travels in time to when he was young, and he's trying to save the love of his life. He only had one girlfriend growing up, and when he turned about 15, he ended up breaking up with her, and then later in life, or in his mid-20s, he finds out that she dies. Now he has a second opportunity to save her by going back in the past and not running away from his problems, but it is just so good. The panels, there's so many times where I said, oh my, I laughed, I cried, I was in shock. All the emotions, many feelings come up, many different feelings come up as you read Tokyo Revengers. So I know a lot of people didn't like the ending, but I have no idea on the ending. Thank you so much for not spoiling it for me. Hopefully I will continue to enjoy the journey. I love a comment I read recently of someone saying, hey, I actually really did like the ending, and you might as well. So that gave me a little bit of hope that I actually will see the other side, that maybe I'll be in the minority that actually just enjoyed the ride the entire time. Next up is a series I'm actually currently working on a review for, and that is the Yakuza's Fiancé Volume 7. Now this is an adult rom-com series as you're following this girl here who is part of the Yakuza clan, the granddaughter, and now she is dating this other clan person over here from Tokyo. So you get to see their antics along the way, the manipulativeness that goes on where you're not quite sure who's telling the truth and who is and who isn't. Very gripping. The dialogue is very strong in this, and you never know what's going to happen. So I'm thoroughly enjoying the series. Again, I've already written the script for this. I just need to go ahead and film the video, give you a review, just more details about this series. Next up is a series where it had a hit anime, and I just thought, why not? A lot of people were talking about it. I picked up, and that is The Dangers in My Heart. This is Volume 8. This is a series that we will be pausing until I read the rest of it. I'm not going to go into this, even though I'm a little hesitant where I do want to order the other volumes because it's from 7 Seas. For some reason, for Dangers in My Heart, a lot of the volumes will be in between prints. And there was some where I think even Volume 7 was hard to find for a while. So that's hard for me. So it's one I just need to read right away, so that way I have an excuse to order it if I do like it, and then I can get the other volumes. But we are not there yet, so because of that, I wish there was more I could tell you about this series. Now next from Square Enix, I went and I picked up Soul Eater Volume 14. We're almost done and complete with the whole series. I think there's 15 or 16 total. For this lovely hardcover edition. Now that you can get the singles and paperback that are more affordable from Ize Press, but I was just thoroughly blown away by this lovely hardcover release. When I went and saw it in person, I said, this is the way I gotta get this series. Now this is from the same author that also made Fire Force, so just fun. I was so excited. Once I get the last volume or two, I'm going to go ahead and start this one as well. Next, I picked up from Webtoon Unscroll is The Gods of High School. Now, this is Volume 2. Now, it is full in color, which I do appreciate. It does bother me that as an MSRP, this one of $18.99, I think the other one was $16.99, so it's gone up in price since then the first volume, so it's taking a while in between prints. Now, this one you're following this lovely main character here who has this I forget which kind of taekwondo it is he can do, but he is where they hide their strength, where it doesn't appear they're strong as they really are, and then they have a boost of energy and they have some special abilities. So you're following this group here. The antics going on now is more mysterious, and I actually did not like the first volume, but I wanted to give it one more, and Now I liked it enough where I can go ahead and continue the story, but it does bother me. It is a little more on the more pricier side, where, you know, I showed you the Ize Press line is just as many pages and it's a bigger trim, and that one is MSRP of $19.99. So for $1 more, I'd rather have something like that than this, but hey, you know what? I'm very grateful that we have a physical release of this to begin with. Now, next I picked up from Dempa is The March Comes Out Like a Lion Volume 2. This is a beautiful story. Now, there's 17 volumes, I believe, out in Japan. I don't know how long it's going to take for Dempa, as it seems like we're only getting 1 volume a year. I hope we're not waiting 17 years to have all the other volumes, but this is you're following a main character who is a shogi player, and you're following him to see just the trauma of his childhood. He's winning and he's doing really well at this, yet it's not something he really wants to do, but it's a way that helps him survive. He liked it because that was a way that he got liked by others. But wow, it's a very powerful storytelling. I understand why this is one of people's favorite series of all time, and I've only read up to the 2nd volume. It's one I highly recommend checking out if you've not already. Just the dialogue alone, as you're really thinking through, as you're following this main character, right? Seeing them, they're not quite there yet of coming out their shell, but you see that there probably is the other side around the horizon. And you're learning about shogi, which I actually did not know anything about. I just knew it was kind of a version a little bit like chess, but there are many differences from it compared to chess. So I love that I'm learning about shogi along the way, and it's just a very powerful, gripping story. Now, last from smaller publishers is Innocent from Dark Horse. Now, this has a sticker that says explicit content, parental investment advised. I highly agree with that completely, where I would not put this anywhere near, I don't even know if I'd want a 16-year-old reading this. So very heavy adult content, but it's a very good, interesting story as you're following the main character, who is an executioner right before the French Revolution. So you're following this family that their job is the executioner for the king. What was that like in that historical context? The actual family did exist in that actual day. So you're following the events. The artwork is very good and it is very strong. There are times where you're just like, oh my. There's some things that are hard to watch, very brutal and violent. I mean, it's an executioner. You see someone get die by getting pulled by horses in 4 different places. So there is some gruesome content in there. There's some heavy adult content as well. So I do want to forewarn you, this is not for kids whatsoever. Now there's going to be only 1 more. I believe there's 9 volumes total, 9 total, which is 3 in the omnibus form, as this is 3 in there. So, and I believe we're going to have it done this year. Again, same author that gave us Climber and gave us Midnight Children, but this has been a very strong story. It's one that's very gripping, but at the same time, I definitely have to take in spurts, as just some of the content is just a little too heavy for me. But it's very interesting seeing that perspective. What would that look like to be an executioner? What would it look like if that was my family's job? What if I didn't want to do that? I didn't want to take someone's life, but I have to do it anyways if I'm going to go ahead and continue the family. So very good and very interesting and gripping. Let's go ahead and now move on to new to me titles that I received from Viz Media. Now, the first one is a little cheating, as I did get the first volume from a Christmas order, but I ended up ordering the entire series. I got it online for, what was it, for $45. So for $45, I was like, I can't miss that. And that is the entire series, well, except for volume 17 of Radiant. So I now have 2 volume 1s. If you're looking for volume 1, I'd be more than happy to send it to you. I can just, if you just want to pay for shipping, I'll send you volume 1 because I don't need 2 of them. But I went and we picked up this entire series. Now, what's a bummer, since it's from a French author, they did not put on my anime list, but I heard if you like One Piece, this is a series that you should check out. So it's been highly recommended from several people to me, and again, for $45, almost like, you know, $3 a volume, I could not say no. So even though we already have a terrible backlog of manga, I was like, let's go ahead and pick up this series anyways, because it was just such a phenomenal deal. And I had some credit, which made it so I think I paid $10 because I had the credit. So yeah, there we have it here. I will go ahead and I will now need to get volume 17 so I can be caught up in the series. But we will do that after we finally find some time and read it. Next up from new to me, I picked up is Snowball Earth. This is volume 1. Now this series is brand new in the Viz signature line. This reminded me of kind of like Neo Genesis Evangelion a bit. Had elements of that where you're following this main character who went out into space to go ahead and stop this alien invasion from coming, and then along the way does what he can. You believe he's saved the Earth, and then he comes back. When he comes back from space to Earth, you discover that Earth is now a frozen wasteland. It wasn't the place that he remembered, and I don't think the time's been actually that long. So you now have the main character going back to Earth, and he thought he saved the alien invasion. Now there's aliens again. Very, very interesting as he's piloting this mecha suit, and you're just finding him along the way. He's a bit of a recluse where he didn't really have friends and didn't know how to make friends necessarily, and just was hoping just to have friends along the way. So I really enjoyed the artwork for this. I thought it was very well done. I think this is going to be probably another series that will be very popular, that will catch a lot of people's attention, that people are going to be wanting to pick up. And last from Viz Media, this is a little cheating a bit because we do have the other series, but this is the series that came after that. But this is Kimi no Toy, From Me to You. This is our lovely Soulmate Volume 1. So I'm very, very excited to continue this series. I do have the rest of this series. I think it's 25 volumes, if I can find it. Yes, here, look, Scott, it's right above you. Well, I don't see that, but yes, right above me here, 25 volumes. So we're going to go ahead and be able to continue this story. So have not started this yet, but there we have it. Let's go ahead and now move on to new to me from Ize Press. Now this, I'm just going to do more of a blanket. If you've checked out my video, if you click on the right hand corner, you can see all the new volume 1s that I received from Ize Press to go ahead and review, which was very, very kind of them. So I won't spend too much. I'll just first show you what I got and maybe more brief. This was the favorite thing I got from them. The Alchemist Who Survived Now Dreams of Quiet City Life. I apologize. I missed Akko and Bambi. This was a series that I got from Ize Press for visiting SakuraCon. So there's that there, but let's go ahead. This is a Isekai series, Black Summoner. This is Trinity 7. Definitely was not for me. Just had a little too much etchiness. This is Gal Gamer. Wasn't for me either. I go on a rant that people said was entertaining, so if you want to be entertained by me, click and you can hear what I think of Gal Gamer. Adult picture book. This is a wholesome slice of life series I thought was pretty good. Tiger Won't Eat the Dragon Yet. I thought this was pretty good as well. I'm curious for another volume of that. My Gemini. This is a one-shot. This is a good one-shot if you're looking for a good one-shot story. I have more thoughts on that in that video. And then from the Ize Press line, we have the Uncanny Encounter. You have people battling and fighting ghosts. They get some powers from them. And this was one I thought was pretty good, except for the artwork wasn't my favorite. And this is the Icon Class. So if you want to hear more about these lovely series that I picked up in these volume 1s, go ahead and click that eye and you can check out that video and you can hear about more of my thoughts on that. So that way this video isn't as long as it is right now. Last, let's go ahead and now check out new to me from KODANSHA, the first being Initial D, and wow, this was so good. This is a bit of nostalgia. I know a lot of people loved this series when it came from Tokyo Pop a long time ago and never got completed in English. I think there's 44 volumes. So it's going to be a while, but they're kind to do a 2-in-1 instead of sending them out individually. But I really enjoyed it as you're following this main character who ends up falling in love with racing and didn't really care too much about it, but I was gripped by it. I enjoyed the first volume. It's definitely not for kids, just a few things in it, but you can see some of those more old school elements. It remind me of Akira, just with the artwork and the pacing. Definitely not story, nowhere like Akira. It's not a post-apocalyptic, not any fantasy elements, but a very good first volume. I really enjoyed Initial D. This will probably be one of my top 10 new series that come out. That's going to be one of my favorites. And then speaking of that, I have another new favorite as well that'll probably hit that top 10 as well, and that is The Fable. I actually like this better than Initial D. I think there's 12 volumes total. This is a lovely tune one. This series, you're following this assassin who now needs to take a break for a year from being an assassin and just go into hiding just to lay low for a while. So it was more of a comedy than I was expecting than action, and I just felt myself laughing over and over again with the antics with him, and then with this girl over here who's his partner in crime. They're not together or anything, but it's just funny seeing her perspective as well, and I just had so many laugh out loud moments, and it was such a good ride. I'm out of those two things between this initially, I'm really looking forward to seeing the next volume of the Fable. This was a very, very good first 2-in-1 volume. I am very happy that KODANSHA decided to go ahead and give us a physical English release of the series. Whew. So that is all I picked up for the month of April. And in the comments below, again, I'd love to know, what did you pick up, as it's always neat to hear what other people are reading, and a lot of your suggestions I end up picking up and reading myself, and then it's something we can share with the whole community. So if you'd like to see more content like this, if you've not done so already, go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. That helps others know about this community that we've built together. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.